Panels. Our priority is simple. We want to make sure that people have what they need and also what they want. We believe that at the end of the day, the metrics of what is actually supposed to be debated is on finding out which side can actually, should be prioritized in terms of animal or human rights and basic freedom of what they want. What we want is simple. We don't want anything to do with this policy. We go against it, and we believe that at the end of the day, this policy will just work against the people and their choice to actually do what they want. The opposition fails when they fail to realize that the idea of animal rights is only exclusive on their side. What they're proposing isn't a mere change in production to actually stop animal consumption, but taking the freedom of people to do what they want, just to push your value, even though the people who to actually take that value may not actually go in line with the value that you're trying to push, right? A few rebels for this. Firstly, is on the concept of saying that this is immoral. Animal consumption is immoral. We believe that at the end of the day, no, morality is something that is very subjective. People doesn't have the same standards for morality. People who are actually, let's say, religious see consuming animals and consuming meat as something that is necessary for them because that is what their God wants. People who have understanding that meat is something that is important for the people's metabolism will see not consuming meat as something that is immoral to push for people. At the end, standing on the subjectivity of morality in this debate will not fly on the basis of this is something that people may not actually believe in. Even if it's immoral, we believe that it's more immoral to force people to not eat meat because at the end of the day, consider that they may not have access towards a certain types of non-meat diet. For example, the people in the middle of Africa who sure have a lot of lands but rely on animal products because that's what is accessible towards them. People in Antarctica who only have access towards meats are not going to be as sustainable as the people in the US and people who have high access towards non-meat diet. At the end of the day, this means that the government is not only actually generalizing the people, assuming that they can actually get access towards meat, but the idea of morality cannot stand on this debate because it's subjectivity, and at the end of the day, because they can't provide to us why every single one is actually going to consume meat at the end of the day. Talking about impacts, such as saying that nutrition is still unfulfilled on our side, we don't particularly believe that. We believe that human, at the end of the day, is a rational person who are actually consuming something that they believe is something that is important for them and is going in line with what they think is something that is healthy. Generalizing people, saying that meat consumers are fat, meat consumers are obese and whatnot, is, well, logically one, immoral because this is a massive generalization. And even if it is unfulfilled on our side, people can get obese, people can get unhealthy on your side also. Notice that when they say characterize people in like a vegan diet have fake meat, at the end of the day, the people who want to actually splurge on consuming meat, if they were to force to not eat meat, will just rely on the other alternative, which is fake meat. At the end of the day, people who want to get unhealthy because of this reasoning will still get unhealthy on your side. That is why talking about meat is harmful towards environment. We don't particularly believe this is so because at the end of the day, the harm that is done towards society is something that is much more detrimental than is being done by animal production itself. Say stuff like carbon footprints by your simple stuff like emails, you're driving your cars and whatnot. It's something that is much more detrimental. And at the end, the trade-off for you, removing something that is very contributional towards the people livelihood and something that is contributional towards the nutritious values of people and forcing them to actually stop this production is not going to put a dent into carbon emission and just going to not going to make a dent in terms of actually pushing environmental barriers to the front. And that is why talking about lastly religious impact, we don't particularly believe that this is of any necessary in this debate. We believe that religious impact at the end of the day is going to be subjective towards what religious that you believe, and at the end of the day, it's most likely that what religious that you believe is going to push for you to eat meat because this is something that God gives to you, and at the end, people are more likely going to consume meat not on the basis that I'm harming animals, but on the basis of this is something that is given to me by God, and I have to actually use it to the best of my ability. That's why coming up to my argument principally, first on the principally is that simple. Why is it that it's more immoral to actually force people to not consume meat, even if this is not something that they want? First layer is that we don't have the right to actually force them to do what they want. People have different views on meats at the end of the day, based on their morality, based on their religion and stuff like that. People may have own access towards a certain types of meat at the end, where they are only able to consume a certain types of diet and whatnot, or even actually don't have access towards vegetarian diets. And at the end, it's just unjust for us to actually force people to one, not only do something that they don't want, which is inherently going in line, going against the idea of freedom of choice, but at the end, going against the offside chance that they may not be able to actually fulfill what expectation that you want to actually have, which is consuming non-meat product. This is important because now it's going to actually induce conflict, right? It's going to actually introduce a chance of conflict where diametrically the interest of people who are going against meat and people who are not going against meat consumption is going to be diametrically unaligned. This is going to actually push them into something they actually can't eat at the end of the day, or just going to actually give more tension towards the people who are in different sets of care. Secondly, talking about why actually people don't really particularly care about this is that government is exaggerating the people's interest in actually stopping meat consumption. People don't really care about this. If we take a look at the vegan movement itself, it doesn't particularly go in line with like what they have done in the past, which is like go into industries and try stopping animal production and whatnot. In most cases, in status quo is that they actually push the values in a much more safer way. People don't care about this. They don't take interest into animal rights movement to the point where they are actually willing to give up what little right they have to actually consume what they want. Forcing them is just going to create tension between actors, in which case the solidarity for cross movement, which is people who consume meat and people who don't consume meat, is just going to be non-existent anymore. People who dislikes animal harm has compromised in the past with people who actually consumes animal, and at the end of the day, these types of compromises will not exist. At the end, this will just go harmful towards both the industry that is producing animals and also the industry that is and also the people who are against the eating of the animals itself. Moving on to practicality, right? Let's talk about the impact of animal industry itself, right? We believe that when you actually stop this, this is just going to lower the economic income of, especially in areas that are one progressive and actually area that are relying on animal production itself. For example, we take a look at Kobe in Japan, we take a look at Australia, we take a look at the middle state in the midwestern states of US. These are areas that rely heavily on farming. If you take away their rights and actually their freedom to do what they need to actually get their money, this means that these people will have an actual lower likelihood for your policy to actually exist, because now the people are not going to go support this that you're trying to propose, and at the end, this will actually lower the development of that particular area, because now the most income that you have is gone, being changed into something that the people may not want to actually consume. At the end, this just removes a lot of job for the people, removes a lot of income towards the area, and all around a bad thing to actually propose. Thank you.